Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Exhuming the X-Files here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. My name is Matthew, joined by an exhausted Jeremy.
Hey everybody.
And we are here every Friday working our way through all of the X-Files episodes, one at a time. We probably should have taken some mushrooms before we watched this one, Jeremy. And, now, you were kind of mentioning, last episode, I think I mentioned to the audience that we kind of watch 4 of these in a row and we record all 4 episodes. And so we came off of Red Museum. You were very, very exhausted. And then let the audience kind of know your thoughts heading into this one, coming right off of watching Red Museum.
I wasn't ready. Like I needed to grind through 2 more episodes so that we could sit down and record the podcast. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this right now. But
see, you gotta spread them out over the course of a few days, like I do, Jeremy, so you don't binge them all at one time.
I like the notes and the memories that I have for it because I've done it both ways. I've watched them throughout the week and took good notes and had okay episodes. And then I watch them all in a day and then I record with you. And those episodes, because I just remember everything that happened. I don't have to really dig in the old brain.
Yeah. Pros and cons to all of them. Any way that you do it, pros and cons. But all right, well, let's talk Excelsis Day. You said before this you didn't have a ton of notes on here. We'll try to remember it as best as we can. I wrote down some stuff here, but I don't have a ton of notes on this one either. So bear with us, dear listeners, as we sort of struggle our way through this one.
So it starts. We got a couple of dudes in an old folks' home, and they're watching a boxing match. It's late night. They're clearly completely checked out, doing nothing but watching this boxing match.
They're assholes, by the way.
Yeah, well, they're supposed to represent the stereotypical awful old folks' home workers, the guys that are abusing the people and just phoning it in every day, which is sadly more common.
Yeah, they make that note when that person dies. It's like they face planted right in a bowl of pudding. Ha ha ha! Awesome. I'm just like, oof. This episode is. It makes you feel gross. This whole episode.
So a gal comes on to shift, and she's just trashing on these guys for leaving this work for her. But she's queen bitch. She doesn't put up with a lot of shit, but she seems to be hardworking. So she goes to turn out this dead woman's room. She goes in, room's empty, starts doing the sheets. All of a sudden, like, the door slams shut.
Well, you missed that the scene right before that, right?
Okay, yeah, no. She talks to the 2 old guys and gets she puts both of the 2 guys to bed because they're like, we got told we could watch TV till later. It's like lights out at 8:30. She's just a rules follower. She wasn't being mean to him. She ends up getting, one of the dudes cop a feel on her, and it's like, okay, well.
He's like, you want to keep that hand? How? You better let go. And he's like, how about a sponge bath? Lecherous old men.
But she seems cool. Like she handled it. That's just a thing that you deal with at work. She goes to turn out this dead woman's room, and she starts changing the sheets. All of a sudden, the door slams shut. All this crazy stuff starts happening. This bed slides away from her. This huge metal bed slides away from her and blocks the door. She can't get out. And then all of a sudden she starts getting violently attacked by something she cannot see. Like it's some sort of ghost.
Yeah. And they don't really bury the lead here. She's being, sexually assaulted by this thing. This whole opening prologue, I thought was probably, for me, like the worst prologue I've seen in any X-Files episode, because the prologue set the stage for the rest of the episode. And I'm watching this. This is nothing but sexual, creepy dialogue. Like, she's got to, tie this guy down. He's like, oh, this old man's like, oh, yeah, you want to tie me down, don't you, honey? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is gross. Like, I don't want to be watching this. And then it ends where she's, sexually assaulted. If anyone's ever seen the movie The Entity, with Barbara Hershey. It's very similar to that, where it's clear like the ghost or whatever it is, at this point is ties her down to the bed and she's screaming. I'm just like, this feels gross. I don't want to watch the rest of this episode. It felt problematic, as they say these days.
It was. And what's worse is like she didn't have this, not to say that women ever have it coming, but they tried to ride this line between she's kind of a bitch, but she's kind of not. She just told a couple of old guys to go to bed.
Yeah, and they were being assholes to her. They were groping up and pawing on her and stuff. Like, I don't...
And then it goes from that to getting raped by a ghost. Okay.
I was honestly like kind of taken aback a little bit by this because we haven't really seen language like this kind of hard in this show before. We haven't really seen imagery quite like this, and I was actually thinking like I had no recollection of this from when I was a kid. Like this whole episode, I was like, I don't even remember this fucking episode. But the thought crossed my mind. I was like, man, this seems a little like risque for 1994. Like network television, just boom, first 5 minutes, and we're assaulting women like multiple times. it felt weird.
And then we get flashed by an old guy's penis, but we don't see it. Thank God. No,
we do. Yes.
They talk to the girl because the reason that it's an X-File is because apparently there are tons of X-Files out there that there are women who get raped by ghosts. Now, Mulder just completely writes it off as there's such a trauma that's involved with it that the females block out the faces. They would rather not see anything at all than see the face of who had done this horrible thing to them. But Scully is like, there's something here. There's something different. So they go and they talk to this nurse. And she's like, you wash a dude's ass for months and months and months. And eventually, like, who it is.
She said 5 years. Yeah.
She knows, like, what he smells like, what he feels like when he touches you. It's like he was invisible, but it was this dude that's still at the old folks home that did this to me. And so they go talk to him. He's like 78 or something like that. He's about to, like, he just got done getting a sponge bath in the sponge bathroom, which is weird. It's like this big ass room with a tub in the center of it, and he pulls open his fucking towel and just shows him both Scully and Mulder just straight up shows him his potato shaped dick and just it don't work.
Yeah, he's like, look how old I am. I couldn't have done anything to this lady. It's like the pipe or the plumbing doesn't even work anymore and just flashes Mulder and Scully. And I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing here? We should point out that right when we come back after the prologue, Mulder is walking into his office. Now, this was a funny line that I put on here, but it just adds to the just uncomfortable like creepiness of this whole episode. Mulder walks in his office. The lights are all off, and Scully's already in there sitting at his table watching this video. And Mulder walks in, he says, hey, whatever tape you found in that VCR, it isn't mine. And he seems like completely terrified that Scully's watching a porno that he left in that VCR. And then she says, well, good, because I put it back in the drawer with all the other tapes that aren't yours. And I'm sitting here thinking, does Mulder just have VHS tapes of porn in his government office that he just watches from time to time? Is Mulder sitting in the FBI building in his office just jerking off to porn at night? It just feels weird. Just all of it feels weird, this episode.
There's things you gotta do to pass the time. He sits in that basement. He's not running all over the world chasing UFOs every single day of the week. Sometimes you just get bored. You got to crank hog,
Well, yeah, but you can't bring porn to a federal building and office and watch it.
Apparently, that's not the case, Matt, because the television just showed me that that's totally
okay. Well then, all right.
So getting away from jerking off at work and back to the old guy's dick. The there's this passing line as that we fade out from that scene that this guy that's working there, one of the orderlies, is telling this dude to get like he mentions that he gets paid $5.50 an
Yes,
hour
I wrote
to
that. To bathe them.
sunbathe old dudes.
Get right up in there in those crevices.
No,
It's a different time in 1994.
yeah, it was. You find out then the two guys that were perving on the girl earlier, they're talking to each other like secretly, like there's some sort of old guy conspiracy going on. Like, why are the FBI agents out there? Did you fucking talk to him? No, I didn't say nothing. And then one of them starts munching on a pill, and the other one's like, "Hey, can I have more of those pills?" No. Well, maybe I should rat you out. And the next scene is that dude that was going to rat him out is getting choked to death by a ghost, and they didn't have any sort of effect that they could use, like practical effect they could use to constrict this dude's throat. So they just shined, like they focused the lens on the dude's throat, and they did some sort of effect that like bent the lens a little bit to make it look like the dude's throat was collapsing. It looked pretty bad.
Yep. By the way, I just looked up how much a $5.50 in 1994 money is worth today, adjusted for inflation. That dude was making $11 an hour, Jeremy.
That's
pretty
bad.
Get his hand right up in there in that old man's crack.
Yeah, you might see something like a body part hanging out of his hole or something. You got to put that back in. I've talked to so many nurses assistants, CNA, or people going for their CNAs that had to do. They call it digging out the crack, which is exactly what you think it is.
We're losing subscribers left and right.
Sorry.
Prolapse, buttholes. Got to put it back in.
Dude, you and I are like 20 years out, brother.
Oh, Jesus.
We're fucked. So, the narc gets strangled.
This pill is like reversing their Alzheimer's too. That's like the biggest sort of background behind this is all these old dudes, they're getting like fresh with this woman. All their Alzheimer's are being like reversed, and now they can think straight, and now they can speak, and now they can do art, and now they can figure out things. And that's the whole thing is like, that's the mystery of this episode, really, aside from the ghost, is why are all these old people's brains coming back to sort of normal?
And how do they have, because it's not telekinesis powers that they're getting, like it's ghosts that are walking around raping people, but it's like the ghost of the person that's still alive, you know?
It's weird. It's a very it's poorly written. We'll say that. But hey, Happy Gilmore's mom shows up. Let's talk about her.
Well, she's the one that sees the ghosts all the time. She really likes the artist guy.
Yeah.
She's trying to protect him and women from lecherous old ghost dudes that are running around feeling up on the nurse. They were feeling up on Scully.
She's in her wheelchair. She's like, hey, get away from her. You stay away from her. Just angry shouting at the ghost.
It's nothing. The people that are around her are just looking at her like, what the fuck is this lady just yelling?
I love that old lady, though. I love her in Happy Gilmore, but a side tangent here, my favorite role she's ever been in is in one of my favorite horror films, John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. And she is the little old sort of like innkeeper, and when Sam Neill goes up the end, and when all this shit's going crazy and all the Lovecraftian stuff, and she's behind the like the desk there, and he's asking her questions, she's like, no, and it pans down, and she's got her like naked husband like chained, like licking her feet or whatever down there. It's like, it's so good. I love that actress. She's so good.
And throughout it, go ahead.
I wanted to mention this was a note that I put in here. When Happy Gilmore's mom shows up and she's talking to the artist, that guy that's drawing there, and she's like, "Oh, President Kennedy has one of his drawings in the White House." Blah blah. when Scully picks up that drawing, my note was they got a much better artist than the person who did the titty foot drawing. Because it's very detailed. It looks real good.
Yeah.
So,
When he does that painting mural later, whoever did
yeah.
that mural, it was really good.
Have you ever seen a movie called Dark Waters?
No.
Okay, you need to watch that. It's a really cool Lovecraftian horror film. It takes place on this weird like little island in Spain or whatever that this woman goes to, this old convent, and there's a painter in that, and it's really cool. So Dark Waters, I'll send you a link to it.
All right. I'll check that out. Throughout the episode, there's this mysterious old Asian, no, not old, but middle-aged Asian fella that is hooking them up with these pills. You come to find out, and they keep coming back to him like, "Hey, man, give me the hookup." And the old guy or the Asian guy's like, "No, you've had too much."
I need more. I need more.
Eventually, Mulder pulls a classic FBI breaking and entering by breaking a lock in a downstairs room to find a room full of mushrooms and a dead body buried somewhere in it.
Yeah.
You find out that this Asian guy has, in his culture, in his Malaysian culture, though he mentions the word prefecture, which
It's
tells
like
me Chinese.
yeah.
Yeah. But I actually wrote that down, and then at the end, they're like, they sent him to, exiled him to Malaysia or some shit. I'm like, oh, okay. But anyway.
Yeah, he got deported at the end of the episode. Again, when Scully is just recapping, here's what happened after the events of the episode.
Sure. But in their culture, and they live with, you have grandparents living with brand new infants. Like, everybody lives at the same house.
Multiple
like,
generations.
You guys don't respect your elderly. You treat them like crap. I see the orderlies around here doing it all the time. And
which is a great message. I like this character. This is the only good character in this entire episode.
And what he does to alleviate their pain is fucking load these assholes up with a bunch of shrooms just to get, so I guess there's some sort of experimental treatment that a doctor was giving them that has mild effects at best when it was tested originally, but I guess in combination with these shrooms was just straight reversing Alzheimer's problems.
Yeah.
And giving them rape ghosts.
Oh God.
He just wants to give them a bunch of tripping balls pills.
Yeah, and he's like, they're getting better. He's like, what I'm doing is actually making them better. And he's not wrong.
And then they want to confiscate his stuff. He goes down to his stash and finds an entire huge, like, quart jar pill bottle is empty. And one of the dude that used his forced ghost to choke his narc-ass roommate had apparently eaten most of them. And whatever was happening to his body, because he started convulsing and doing also the funky chicken in his bed, started amplifying all the crazy shit that was happening at this place. Like, Mulder and this nurse almost drown in this room that they get locked in, and the
so weird,
so stupid. They just wanted to do those effects, though. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, like, for whatever reason, all of the plumbing starts shooting up, water's everywhere, and this room just starts filling up. And I'm like, this doesn't even, it's not plausible that this would even be a thing that would be happening right there. They show, like, the door, the base of the door, and just a little bit of water's coming out. I'm like, more than just a little bit of water would be coming out. It would take more than like 30 seconds to get them neck level in the water. It just, it felt so weird and out of place.
But then we get, it's amplifying everything that's going on. The old lady in the wheelchair, she starts seeing ghosts everywhere, and she's just yelling for them to stop touching the women. The art guy, he makes this beautiful, huge mural because he's just going nuts. Like,
it looks cool, yeah.
Doing stuff, and then they end up going back to the original. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like my note was the mural looks like a horror version of what's on the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah,
Like it's all colorful. It's like ghosts and all kinds of weird shit. All of it. It looked really really awesome.
it was very cool. Yeah, and then they inject the dude that's doing the funky chicken, and everything just stops,
Yep.
and nobody gets charged with a crime. I think they send old boy back to Malaysia. The mushrooms stop. Everybody else's or every all of these old people's brains turn back to mush again, and then the episode just ends.
Yeah. With another Scully recap of what happened and how nothing has been solved. So yet another. Remember way back in the first season when whoever says like Scully and Mulder have a closing success rate of like 70% or some ridiculous amount, and now we're getting multiple episodes in a row here where it's like we haven't been able to figure out what's happened with any of this stuff. Case remains open. Few things I have here. I didn't understand the whole angle that they filed. Like this nurse filed a lawsuit against the federal government. I was like, is this nursing home administered by the federal government? Like, I didn't understand why she would even have grounds to sue the government for this, which is what causes Mulder and Scully to be there in the first place. That seemed weird. Also thought it was weird that this is an episode where Mulder is skeptical of everything. Like we've flipped where Scully is the one that believes that there could be more here, whereas Mulder just dismisses the entire idea that the ghost could be assaulting people from the very beginning. Felt that was kind of out of character for him a little bit. My note here: when the orderly is hanging off the ledge, there's this ridiculous scene with this orderly gets pushed out the window and is like hanging for dear life. It cuts to this. I don't know if you could see this on your TV. It cuts to this really low quality, like almost video
Yeah,
footage. It seemed weird. I'm like, did they shoot this
with a
later?
camcorder.
Yeah, like at a later time, like they missed getting the shot with their 35 millimeter cameras, and they had to go in after the fact and quickly shoot this with like a video camera. Looked really weird. I've noticed that in a couple times in previous episodes as well, but it was really noticeable here.
I
Mulder,
also love that scene because Mulder runs up to save that dude from falling, and Scully just stands on the ground and stares at him until he dies. Like she doesn't even move.
yeah, I actually wrote here. Mulder tries to save the guy, but doesn't. Happens repeatedly in this series where our heroes routinely are not able to save the people. But yeah, there's a whole sequence where you see Mulder just running his ass off trying to get to the, I don't know, 6th or 7th floor of this building, only for the ghost to just drop the guy before Mulder. And Mulder doesn't even like really reach out far. He just sticks his hand. He's like, "Reach for me, grab it, come on!" Like
Yeah, you
the
do all
onus.
the work, bud.
Yeah, the onus is on you, hero, to reach out and grab him, not to have the guy who's like about to fall off try to do that. I mean, oh god, the writing in this episode. What one other note? So, ghosts have awakened or taken revenge on the way they have been treated. That was also the thing. So, the ghosts, however, this mushroom magically works to bring these ghosts alive, the ghosts are taking revenge on these or asshole orderlies that have been treating them like shit the whole time. And that's pretty much all I got for my notes. Your thoughts on this one, Excelsis Day?
I again after Red Museum, I was exhausted. Like I just didn't want to do this anymore. And then we rolled into this episode, and I just my heart wasn't in it. I couldn't find anything really to like about it. I didn't hate this episode, but I just wasn't there for it. And honestly, after it was done, like I looked at my notes, I'm like, I can't watch the 4th episode I'm supposed to watch today without doing something. Like I tried making a cup of tea to wake myself up. That didn't work. You know what? I'm going for the nap. I laid down, came back fresh for episode 4. Feels good. I want to just forget that episode ever happened.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I didn't like this episode at all. Like, I have no doubt this will be in my bottom 5 with our season 2 recap. I mean, I can't imagine there's going to be something worse than this. I felt like this just felt gross. It felt grimy. I didn't enjoy watching it. The whole subject matter of this ghost assaulting this woman, and the old guys like being gross on her, and so I just was like checked out from the prologue, and it didn't get any better as I was going through it. I was just kind of like, nope. This one wasn't for me. Too many stupid things in it. Interesting enough, this was directed by a guy named Steven Surgic and written by a guy named Paul Brown. So the facts that I have about this: Excelsis Day was written by Paul Brown, his final script for the series after the earlier episode Ascension. This guy wrote Ascension, which we thought was pretty cool, and then he shits out this thing. The episode was directed by Steven Surgic, his only credit for the series, and he had reached out to the show's producers and requested a chance to direct an episode because he was a fan of the show. And I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm a fan. Can I direct an X-Files episode? And they hand you the script of like ghosts sexually assaulting nurses. Good luck. I feel bad for the director, honestly. Production for this episode was notoriously difficult, and the book The Complete X-Files notes that it, quote, gave the staff headaches both during the shoot and during the editing process, unquote. Part of this was due to the script being delivered to the cast and crew 2 days before filming was scheduled to begin. Chris Carter felt that the delivered script was way too ambitious and was rewriting it as they were filming it. One part of the episode that was nixed during the writing stage was an extended look at Michelle's love life. Originally, she was explicitly described as a lesbian, and in one short scene, her partner enters her apartment to talk to her. Series creator Chris Carter eventually cut that scene because he thought it, quote, felt gratuitous at that point, unquote. And I was trying to parse like what would be gratuitous about that? Like, oh, that she was a lesbian and she was raped by this old man ghost? But why would it matter that she was a lesbian and like her partner shows up ostensibly to show support for her who's just gone through this trauma? I don't get why that felt gratuitous that they had to remove that from the episode. I think that would actually have been better for that character. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like why that? I mean, maybe this was 1994 mindset.
Chris Carter wrote Red Museum, right? And then rewrote a lot of stuff in this episode. So
there you go. Yeah, so we probably got most of this is honestly probably Chris Carter just rewriting stuff. Many of the scenes were filmed at Riverview Hospital, a psychiatric hospital located in British Columbia. During on-site production, several of the members of the show's cast and crew claimed that they heard mysterious voices, and they refused to, quote, venture into the bowels of the building, unquote, for fear that it was haunted. This actual hospital has been in a million things. It's been in Supernatural. It's been in like tons of horror movies. So Riverview Hospital, you always see the exteriors of this because it looks like a crazy, cool, insane asylum type of place. In order to film the scene featuring the bathroom door bursting with water, a scene Matt Hurwitz and Chris Knowles called, quote unquote, nail biting. I disagree with you there. Special effects supervisor Dave Gauthier built a massive tank that was rigged to flood the set hallway with 3,300 gallons of water. And the episode features several actresses that had previously had parts in other episodes of The X-Files. Tasha Sims, who portrayed the daughter of Stan Phillips in the episode, had previously played the part of Cindy Reardon's mother in Jeremy's favorite first season episode, Eve. So there you go. You got even more ties to the greatness of this episode for you, Jeremy. Sheila Moore, who had appeared as the background character in the episode Deep Throat, appears in this episode as the nursing home's director. And last but not least, the title is taken from a Latin liturgical phrase meaning, quote, glory to God in the highest, unquote, with a slight variation of the last word. The actual phrase is Gloria in Excelsis Deo. It also appears in the chorus of the Christmas hymn, Angels We Have Heard on High. So, there you go, folks. I don't think we have any additional thoughts to add to this. Not great. We weren't a big fan of this, but hey, we want to know what you all think. Please leave a comment and hit that like and subscribe button. I just want to point out, Jeremy, I did sort of check our Excelsis or our Excelsis Day, our Erlenmeyer Flask episode, we now have 2 more in the span of like the past, I don't know, 30 minutes we've been talking about this episode. We've gained 2 more subscribers from that Erlenmeyer Flask episode. I don't know what we did, but we're
Hey everybody, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, welcome. We appreciate you if you're here from watching that episode. So stay tuned. Next Friday, we will be back here again on Outpost Unknown, Exhuming the X-Files. We're going to take a look at the episode called Aubrey, and we're going to hope that it's better than Red Museum and hope that it's better than Excelsis Day. We shall see. Stay tuned.